Hi, my dear friends. It's Jenny here. I just want to say thank you for pressing play today, for choosing to spend a few quiet minutes here with me, even though there are so many other things online calling for your attention. Every day, there are countless videos to scroll through, songs to listen to, and shows to watch. So the fact that you come here to learn, to listen, and to grow means more than I can ever say. That's exactly why I set a goal to post a new episode regularly, not because it's easy, but because I want to create a space you can return to, a small corner of calm where English and self-growth meet. Thank you for making this space part of your daily routine. You're the reason I keep showing up, and that choice you just made to be here, that's already courage. And today, we're going to talk about exactly that, courage. But not the kind you see in movies, not the loud, dramatic kind. We're going to talk about the quiet courage that lives in everyday moments, the courage it takes to start something new, to fail and try again, to be a beginner when everyone around you seems like an expert. This episode is a little longer than usual, so maybe grab some tea, get comfortable, and let's walk through this together. Because by the end, I hope you'll see that courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you practice, like a muscle that grows stronger every time you use it. Are you ready? Let's begin. Part 1. What courage really means. When you hear the word courage, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of heroes, firefighters running into burning buildings, soldiers in battle, people doing extraordinary things in dangerous situations. And yes, that's courage. But I want to tell you about a different kind of courage. The kind that doesn't make headlines but changes lives anyway. Real courage is the person who speaks up in a meeting even though their voice shakes. It's the student who raises their hand to ask a question, knowing others might judge. It's you, right now, learning English even though you make mistakes, even though it's hard, even though you sometimes feel embarrassed. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action despite the fear. I used to think brave people didn't feel scared, but that's not true. Brave people feel everything. The fear, the doubt, the worry. They just don't let those feelings make the final decision. They feel afraid, and they do it anyway. There's a beautiful quote I once read. Courage is not having the strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength. Let that sink in for a moment. You don't need to feel strong to be brave. You just need to take one step when everything in you wants to stop. That's it. That's courage. Think about the first time you tried to speak English with a native speaker. Your heart was probably racing. Maybe your hands were sweating. Maybe you wanted to run away. But you opened your mouth and tried. That moment, that's courage. Not perfect English, not confidence, just the willingness to try. And here's something important. Courage isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's often quiet, almost invisible. It's the single mother working 2 jobs to give her children a better life. It's the person recovering from illness who gets out of bed when it would be easier to stay there. It's the artist who creates even though no one is watching yet. Courage is deeply personal. What feels scary to you might feel easy to someone else, and that's okay. We all have different battles. Your courage is valid even if it doesn't look like someone else's courage. Maybe for you, courage is sending that email you've been avoiding. Maybe it's setting a boundary with someone who doesn't respect you. Maybe it's admitting you need help. Maybe it's just today, showing up to your English practice when you'd rather give up. Whatever it is, it counts. Your small acts of bravery are building something powerful inside you. They're teaching you that you're stronger than you think. So when you doubt yourself, when you think, I'm not brave enough, remember this. You've already been brave. Every time you tried something new, every time you got back up after falling, every time you chose growth over comfort, that was courage. And you can do it again today. Part 2. The fear of starting. Now let's talk about something we all face, the fear of beginning. Why is starting so hard? Why do we put off the things we actually want to do? Learning a new skill, starting a business, having an important conversation, making a change in our lives. We know what we need to do, but we freeze. I think it's because beginning something means accepting that we'll be bad at it first, and nobody likes being a beginner. We live in a world that celebrates experts, masters, people who make things look effortless. We see their polished results and forget about their messy beginnings. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Everyone, absolutely everyone, starts at zero. The person whose English you admire, they once couldn't say hello correctly. The successful entrepreneur, they once had no idea what they were doing. The skilled musician, they once made sounds that hurt people's ears. Being a beginner is not a problem. It's a necessary stage. You cannot skip it. And actually, being a beginner is kind of magical if you think about it, because that's when the most growth happens. That's when you're learning the fastest, changing the most, becoming someone new. But our fear tells us something different. Our fear says, don't start until you're ready. Don't try until you're sure you'll succeed. Don't speak until your English is perfect. Don't share your work until it's flawless. And if we listen to that voice, we never start at all. There's a concept I love called imperfect action. It means doing something even when you're not ready, even when it's not perfect. Because action teaches you things that thinking never will. Let me tell you a story. There was once a pottery teacher who divided his class into two groups. He told the first group, you'll be graded on quantity. Make as many pots as you can. The more you make, the better your grade. He told the second group, you'll be graded on quality. Make one pot, just one, but make it perfect. At the end of the semester, something surprising happened. The best pots came from the quantity group. Why? Because while the quality group sat around theorizing about perfection, the quantity group was making pots. They made mistakes, learned from them, tried again. Through repetition and action, they actually became more skilled. That's what courage looks like in practice. It's not waiting for perfection. It's starting messy and learning as you go. I know starting feels vulnerable. When you begin something, you're exposing yourself to judgment, to failure, to the possibility that you might not be as good as you hoped. That's scary. I understand. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of not starting? If you don't start learning English today, where will you be in a year? If you don't start that project, write that book, have that conversation, make that change, what will your life look like in 5 years? Sometimes the fear of regret needs to be stronger than the fear of failure. Here's what I've learned. The perfect moment doesn't exist. You will never feel completely ready. There will always be a reason to wait. But waiting is just fear dressed up as patience. So how do you overcome the fear of starting? First, make your first step ridiculously small. Don't commit to studying English for 2 hours. Commit to opening your book for 5 minutes. Don't commit to running a marathon. Commit to putting on your running shoes. Make it so easy you can't say no. Second, expect to be bad at first. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Tell yourself, I'm supposed to make mistakes right now. That's how learning works. Remove the pressure of perfection. Third, remember why you wanted to start in the first place. What pulled you toward this goal? What future were you trying to create? Hold that vision, not as pressure, but as a gentle reminder of what matters to you. And finally, find your courage in community. You're not alone. Millions of people are learning English right now. Millions are starting new things, feeling scared, making mistakes. When you start, you join them. You become part of something bigger. The fear of starting is normal. It's human, but it doesn't have to stop you. Because on the other side of that fear is growth, is learning, is the person you want to become. And that person is worth the uncomfortable beginning. So today, or tomorrow morning, when you face something that scares you, take a breath and remember, you don't need to be brave forever. You just need to be brave for the next 5 minutes, and then the next 5 minutes after that. Courage is not one big leap. It's a series of small steps, and you're already taking them. Part 3. The courage to fail. Let's talk about something we rarely discuss openly. Failure. We all fear it. We avoid it. We feel ashamed when it happens. But failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. It's the path, not the ending. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. Do we say that baby is a failure? Of course not. We celebrate every attempt. We clap when they stand, even if they immediately fall again. We understand that falling is how they learn balance. But somewhere along the way, we forget this. We grow up, and suddenly failing becomes something terrible, something to hide, something that means we're not good enough. I want to change how you think about failure today. Every person you admire has failed more than you can imagine. The difference is, they didn't stop. They failed, learned, adjusted, and tried again. Failure wasn't their ending. It was their education. There's a famous story about Thomas Edison. When he was inventing the light bulb, he failed thousands of times. Someone asked him, "How does it feel to fail so many times?" And he said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." That's a completely different way of seeing failure, isn't it? When you try to speak English and you use the wrong word, you haven't failed. You found one way that doesn't work, and now you're closer to the way that does. When you start a project and it doesn't turn out how you hoped, you haven't failed. You've learned something you couldn't have learned any other way. Failure is feedback. It's information. It's telling you, try this differently next time. The problem is, failure hurts. It stings our pride. It makes us doubt ourselves. It brings up that voice in our head that says, "See, I told you that you couldn't do it. You should just give up." But here's what I want you to understand. That voice is lying. Failure doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you can't do it yet. There's so much power in that word, yet. It transforms failure from a closed door into an open road. I can't speak English fluently. Yet. I don't understand this. Yet. I haven't succeeded. Yet. That word yet is hope. It's possibility. It's courage in word form. Now, I'm not saying failure feels good. It doesn't. It's okay to feel disappointed, frustrated, or sad when things don't work out. Feel those feelings. They're valid. But don't let them define your next move. Here's how to build courage through failure. First, normalize it. Expect to fail sometimes. Not because you're not good enough, but because trying new things means entering unknown territory. Failure is proof that you're challenging yourself, stretching beyond what's comfortable. Second, fail faster. Don't spend months or years avoiding something because you're afraid of getting it wrong. Try it quickly, learn quickly, adjust quickly. The faster you fail, the faster you learn, the faster you grow. Third, separate failure from identity. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failed attempt. You are a person who tried something brave. The attempt is what defines you, not the outcome. I once read about a company that celebrates failures. At the end of each month, they have a meeting where people share their biggest mistakes. Not to shame anyone, but to learn together. They've created a culture where failure isn't feared. It's expected and valued as a learning tool. Imagine if we did that in our own lives. Imagine if at the end of each week, you looked at your mistakes with curiosity instead of criticism. Interesting. I tried this and it didn't work. What can I learn? What will I do differently next time? That's the courage to fail. It's not avoiding mistakes. It's engaging with them, learning from them, and trying again with new wisdom. Here's something beautiful. Every failure makes you more resilient. Every time you survive a setback and keep going, you prove to yourself that you're tougher than you thought. You build a kind of confidence that can't be shaken, because it's not based on always winning. It's based on knowing you can handle whatever comes. And let me tell you something else. Some of my greatest growth came from my biggest failures. The times I fell hardest taught me the most about who I am and what I'm capable of. Those painful moments became turning points, not because the failure itself was good, but because I chose to let it teach me instead of defeat me. So if you failed recently, if you're sitting with disappointment right now, I want you to know this is not the end of your story. This is the middle. The messy middle where transformation happens. You had the courage to try. That's already something. Now have the courage to try again, a little differently, a little wiser, because the only real failure is giving up on yourself. And I don't think you're going to do that. Part 4. Small, brave moments. We've talked about big fears, starting and failing, but I want to spend some time on something often overlooked, the small moments of courage that fill our everyday lives. Because courage isn't always dramatic. Most of the time, it's quite ordinary. It's sending a message in English even though you're not sure the grammar is correct. It's asking for help when you'd rather pretend you understand. It's saying, "I don't know," instead of faking knowledge. It's setting aside time for yourself when everyone else needs you. It's saying no to things that drain you. These small moments don't feel heroic when you're living them, but they are. They're the foundation of a brave life. I think about this often. We wait for big opportunities to be courageous, but courage is actually built in small daily choices. It's choosing honesty over comfort. It's choosing growth over staying the same. It's choosing to show up even when you're tired. Let me give you some examples of small, brave moments. Starting a conversation with a stranger. That takes courage. You don't know how they'll respond. You're risking rejection or awkwardness, but you do it anyway because connection matters to you. Sharing your opinion in a group when everyone else seems to agree on something different. That takes courage. You're risking judgment, disagreement, maybe conflict, but you value your voice enough to use it. Trying a new food, visiting a new place, taking a different route home. These seem tiny, but they're acts of courage too. They're saying yes to the unknown, choosing curiosity over fear, admitting when you're wrong. That takes tremendous courage. It means putting truth above ego, learning above being right, continuing after rejection. Someone said no to you, criticized you, didn't choose you, but you didn't let that stop you from trying again. That's courage. Do you see what I mean? Courage is woven into ordinary life. It doesn't always announce itself, but it's there, in small choices, in quiet moments, in the decision to keep going when quitting would be easier. And here's what's beautiful. These small acts of courage accumulate. They build on each other. Each time you do something slightly brave, you're training your courage muscle. You're teaching yourself that you can handle discomfort, that you can survive uncertainty. Over time, those small moments of courage create a brave life. Not a life without fear, but a life where fear doesn't make all the decisions. Think about it like this. If every day you did one thing that scared you just a little bit, one small brave thing, where would you be in a year? How much would you have grown? How different would your life look? Maybe today your small brave moment is participating in this English lesson, even though you feel self-conscious about your level. Maybe it's deciding to practice speaking even though no one is listening. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for yesterday's mistakes and starting fresh today. Whatever it is, it matters. Your small courage today is building your bigger courage for tomorrow. Don't wait for perfect conditions to be brave. Don't wait until you feel ready. Be brave in small ways, right where you are, with what you have. Because those small moments, they're not preparation for your real life. They are your real life, and you're living it courageously, one small choice at a time. Part 5. The courage to keep going. There's a kind of courage we don't talk about enough. It's not the courage to start, or even the courage to fail. It's the courage to keep going when nothing seems to be changing. This is the hardest kind of courage, the courage of persistence. You've been studying English for months, maybe years, and some days you feel like you're not improving. You've been working toward a goal, and progress feels invisible. You've been showing up, doing the work, being consistent, and there's no applause, no recognition, no obvious reward. This is when most people quit, not because they failed, but because success is taking too long. But here's what I want you to understand. Growth is almost always invisible, until suddenly it's not. Think about bamboo. When you plant bamboo, you water it every day. For the first year, you see nothing above ground. Nothing. Second year, still nothing. Third year, fourth year, nothing. But in the fifth year, bamboo can grow up to 90 feet in just 6 weeks. What was happening during those 4 years of nothing? The bamboo was growing roots, deep, strong roots that could support rapid growth later. That's what's happening to you right now. Even when you can't see progress, you're building roots. Every English lesson you complete, every time you practice, every moment you stay committed, you're growing stronger underneath the surface. And one day, often when you least expect it, suddenly, everything clicks. Words flow more easily. Understanding comes faster. That goal you've been chasing feels suddenly within reach, but only if you keep going through the invisible middle. Persistence is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's showing up on day 47 when day 46 felt pointless. It's trying again when you're not sure it matters. It's trusting the process when you can't see the results yet. This kind of courage requires something special: faith. Not religious faith necessarily, but faith in yourself. Faith that your effort matters even when you can't prove it yet. Faith that you're becoming someone different even if you look the same. Faith that consistency compounds in ways you can't always measure. I know it's hard to keep going when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when everyone around you seems to be succeeding faster. I know it's hard to stay committed to something that isn't giving you immediate satisfaction, but that's exactly why it's courageous. Anyone can keep going when things are working. The real test of courage is what you do when things feel stagnant, when motivation is gone, when you have to rely purely on commitment. So, if you're in that place right now, the middle of your journey where nothing seems to be happening, I want to tell you, keep going. Not because I can promise it will work out exactly how you hope. I can't. But because the act of continuing, of not giving up on yourself, that's creating something powerful inside you. You're becoming someone who finishes, someone who persists, someone who doesn't quit when things get hard. And that person, that's who you'll need to be for every future challenge. Every time you keep going, you're voting for the future you want. You're saying, I still believe this matters. I still believe in me. And maybe that's the deepest form of courage there is. My dear friends, we're coming to the end of our time together today. Take a deep breath with me. Let everything we talked about settle in. Courage is not a personality trait you're born with. It's not something some people have and others don't. Courage is a choice, a practice, a muscle you build every single time you face fear and do it anyway. You've already been courageous today. By listening to this, by continuing to learn, by not giving up on your growth, you've shown courage. Tomorrow morning or later today, when you face something that scares you, remember, you don't need to feel brave to be brave. You just need to take one small step. Start something messy, fail, and try again. Keep going when nothing seems to change. Speak even when your voice shakes. Try even when you might be wrong. That's courage, and you're already doing it. Before you go, I want to ask you something. What's one small act of courage you can commit to today? Maybe it's speaking one English sentence out loud. Maybe it's starting something you've been avoiding. Maybe it's just being kind to yourself. Think about it, and if you want, share it in the comments. I'd love to celebrate your bravery with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for learning. Thank you for growing. You are braver than you know, and I'm so proud of you for showing up. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be gentle, be patient, and be brave. This is Jenny, reminding you that courage starts with you. Goodbye.